The gate creaked as I stepped onto the gravel path, the wind tugging lightly at my jacket like it, too, wanted me to turn back. I didn't. I'd promised myself I'd at least walk to the barn. Just once. See it. Breathe it in. Then leave. But the moment my boots crunched against the old ranch drive, everything I'd buried in the last 2 years started to stir. This was where everything used to feel simple. Before the accident. Before I lost him. Before I lost me. Now the place felt like a museum of everything I'd tried to forget. Should have stayed away, I muttered. But I didn't mean it. Not really. The barn was exactly how I remembered it. Red siding faded from too many summers, that old dent in the corner stall door, the smell of hay, sweat, and saddle oil soaked into every beam. A dog barked in the distance. Birds rustled in the rafters. And in the farthest stall, I heard a deep, low snort. Then the unmistakable sound of hoof on wood. Eliza? I turned. Tom, the ranch's longtime stable manager, walked in, holding a bucket of oats in one hand and a lead rope in the other. He looked older. Grayer. But solid, as always. You came, he said simply. I said I would. Wasn't sure you'd follow through. Neither was I. He nodded toward the stalls. Still feels like home? Feels like a grave, I said before I could stop myself. He didn't flinch. Sometimes graves grow gardens, he said, and kept walking. I stayed by the doorway, staring down the center aisle of the barn. Stalls on either side. Tools neatly hung on their pegs. Tack room still labeled in Dad's handwriting. And there, at the very end, him. Big. Black. Still a stone. Ash. He was bigger than I remembered. Taller, broader, with a dark sheen to his coat that caught the light like coal dust. His mane hung thick over one eye, giving him an almost mythical look, like something out of an old war poem. But it was the eyes that got me. Same as before. Sharp. Watchful. And fixed right on me. Nope, I whispered, taking a step back. Not doing this. I turned to leave. Eliza. Tom's voice stopped me like a lasso around my chest. What? He didn't smile. Just gave me that steady, knowing look he always had when I was a teenager, when I thought anger was a shield. He won't let anyone else ride him. I blinked. What? He barely lets anyone groom him. He won't load. Won't lunge. Refuses to enter the arena. That's not my problem. It is now. No. Eliza. I said no. Your sister thinks it'll help. I froze. She told you to say that? She told me to tell you the truth. I clenched my jaw and looked down the aisle again. Ash hadn't moved. Not a step. Not a flicker. Just staring. I can't, I said finally. I can't do this. Tom didn't argue. Didn't pressure. He just said, okay. And walked away. I didn't sleep that night. My old room creaked in all the same places. The bed was too soft. The ceiling fan ticked like it was counting down to something I hadn't agreed to. And every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face. Not Tom. Not Ash. Him. Jamie. My partner. My love. My biggest regret. He used to say Ash was the last horse he'd ever need. They were fire and wind together. I was always the one watching from the rail, half in awe, half in fear. Until the day the trailer flipped. Until the day only one of them made it out. I went back to the barn the next morning. Not to see Ash. Just to walk. To be near something familiar. But he was waiting. Again. Same stall. Same eyes. He watched me walk the whole length of the aisle, silently, like a sentry. When I paused near the tack room, he let out a soft, low breath. Like a question. Or maybe a memory. I'm not him, I whispered. Don't look at me like I am. Ash stepped forward, one slow, deliberate step, until his head pressed gently against the stall door. I moved back instinctively. My heart raced. I wasn't ready. I didn't even know what I wasn't ready for, his touch, or what it might unlock. Tom came in later with a clipboard. Saw you standing with him. I wasn't, I stopped. I didn't. You don't have to lie, he said. I wasn't, I repeated. He just looked at me weird. Tom smirked. He looks at everyone weird. But he only follows one person. What are you talking about? He broke out last week. We found him by the fence near your room. I stared at him. Tom's voice softened. He knows you. Whether you want him to or not. That afternoon, I tried cleaning tack in the shade of the barn. I needed something with clear purpose, something mechanical, repetitive. Something that didn't require me to feel. But I felt him watching. From his stall. From the shadows. From everywhere. I gritted my teeth. I'm not your person, I said aloud. He snorted. Stop it. Stop looking at me like that. No response. I'm not doing this. He flicked an ear. I stood up. I'm not. A breath. A pause. Fine. I approached his stall slowly. Fingers trembling. My heart pounded so loudly I thought he'd hear it. Ash stayed still. I opened the stall door just a crack. And he stepped forward, pressing his forehead gently against my shoulder before I could step back. I froze. Hands midair. Mind blank. He was too strong. Not just in body, in presence. He didn't shove. Didn't push. But he didn't let me retreat, either. Just stood there. Breathing. With me. I don't want this, I whispered. He stayed. I can't handle this. Stillness. Don't make me feel it. A soft, warm exhale against my neck. I don't want to remember. And that's when I realized I was crying. Silently. Completely. I stepped back quickly, wiping my face with my sleeve. Ash didn't move. Didn't flinch. He just looked at me. And I knew, somehow, that he understood. That night, I wrote a single sentence in the journal I hadn't touched in over a year. He followed me anyway. The next morning, I found Ash waiting for me again. Same stall. Same look. It wasn't a greeting. It was a statement. Like he already knew I'd show up. And I hated that he was right. I'd promised myself I wasn't getting involved. That I'd come here for peace, not for healing. Not for horses. But somehow, just being near Ash made the world quiet down in a way nothing else could. Even if that quiet came with pressure. I tried keeping my distance. I cleaned the other stalls. Swept the aisle. Repaired the hinges on a broken gate. All while pretending he wasn't watching me. But every time I glanced over my shoulder, there he was. Eyes tracking me. Not waiting. Not pleading. Just being. And every time I walked by, he stepped closer to the door. Every step I took, he matched in stillness. I tried to ignore it. But you can't ignore gravity. Tom must have noticed, because by lunch, he handed me a lead rope. Your turn, he said simply. I froze. What? You said you weren't ready. That was 2 days ago. That still counts as recent. He shrugged. Then you can stand here arguing. Or you can walk with him. I hesitated. The rope was warm from the sun. Ash stood at the far end of the paddock, grazing, casual, relaxed. You're not gonna train me through guilt, I said. I'm not training you at all, Tom replied. He is. It took me 20 minutes to decide. 20 long minutes of pacing, glancing at the rope, then pacing some more. Finally, I opened the gate and stepped into the paddock. Ash looked up. He didn't run. Didn't move. Just raised his head and waited. I approached slowly. One step. Then another. I expected him to bolt, or at least flinch. But he didn't. He let me walk right up to him. Let me lift the halter. Let me clip the rope to his lead. Like we'd done this 1,000 times before. And maybe we had. The walk was short. Just a loop around the training ring. But it felt like miles. I didn't speak. Didn't breathe too hard. Didn't feel too much. Ash walked beside me, calm and steady. Matching my pace exactly. Never pushing. Never pulling. Just present. And in those few minutes, I felt something in my chest loosen, not break, just shift. Like maybe I could carry this. Maybe I could carry him. Afterward, I returned him to his stall and sat on a bale of hay outside the door. Tom wandered by and said, "You looked good out there." "I didn't do anything," I said. He gave me a crooked smile. "Exactly." That evening, I called my sister. She answered on the third ring. "You're alive," she said, teasing. "Barely." "Let me guess, Ash is still following you around like a giant shadow?" "I walked him today." A pause. "You what?" "Yeah. For 10 whole minutes." "You okay?" "I think so." Another pause. "That's a start." That night, I dreamed of Jamie. We were back at the barn, brushing Ash together. Jamie laughed, said something I couldn't hear, and reached out to touch my cheek. But before he could, everything shifted. The barn faded. The light dimmed. And suddenly, Ash was the only thing in the dream, standing alone in the fog, watching me. When I woke up, I was crying. And I didn't know why. The days blurred together after that. Each morning, I tried to avoid Ash. And each morning, he found me anyway. I'd be fixing a fence, he'd stand behind me. Mucking the pasture, he'd nudge my arm. Eating lunch on the porch, he'd wait by the gate, silent, unmoving. It wasn't invasive. It was consistent. Unshakable. And every time I told myself I wasn't ready, he didn't believe me. By the end of the week, I was grooming him again. Slowly. Carefully. Like brushing off years of dust. He let me comb his mane, pick his hooves, rub the sweat lines from his coat. And still, not once, did he step away. Even when I did. I found myself talking to him. Not intentionally. Just little things. "This curry comb's older than both of us. You smell like hay and trouble." Jamie used to say your ears were shaped like devil horns. I didn't expect a response. But every time I spoke, Ash listened. Really listened. And in that silence, I found something I hadn't felt in a long time. Permission. To speak. To feel. To remember. On the 7th day, I opened his stall without thinking. No lead. No halter. Just trust. He stepped out slowly, brushed past my shoulder, and walked to the arena gate. Then turned. And looked back. Waiting. I followed. We didn't train. Didn't work. We just stood in the center of the ring, two beings in different forms, sharing the same breath. The same memory. The same pain. And for the first time, I didn't flinch when he moved toward me. Didn't stiffen when he pressed his forehead gently to my chest. Didn't push him away. I let him stay. Later, as the sun dipped low over the hills, I sat in the field beside him. He grazed quietly. I held a small photo in my hand, one I hadn't looked at in years. Jamie and me. Standing beside Ash. All three of us smiling. All three of us whole. I turned the photo over. There, in Jamie's handwriting. If anything ever happens, let him find you. He's stronger than I ever was. Asterisk. I stared at the words until the sun disappeared. Then tucked the photo into my pocket. And looked up at Ash. You were always his strength, I whispered. Ash looked at me. Then, without a sound, he walked forward. And rested his head in my lap. I didn't cry. Not then. Not yet. But the tears were there. Waiting. Like he was. The wind changed before the sky did. It swept in suddenly, sharp and metallic, carrying the kind of stillness that made the animals uneasy before a storm, that old, silent warning that even the earth seems to feel. Tom stepped out of the feed room, squinting at the horizon. Storm's coming. I glanced up. It's sunny. Not for long. He was right. By late afternoon, the sky had darkened like bruised fruit, clouds stacked high and thick over the western hills. The birds disappeared. The air turned heavy. And Ash grew restless. He paced the paddock with increasing urgency, ears swiveling, nostrils flaring. His hooves kicked up dry earth that clung to his flanks in clouds. Easy, I said, standing near the fence line. He didn't respond. Didn't even look at me. His focus was elsewhere, on something I couldn't see, couldn't feel. But he felt it. The first clap of thunder was distant. But Ash reared anyway. Not high, not dangerously, but enough to make my heart seize. Tom cursed under his breath. I'll get the halter. He jogged to the tack room. I stayed. Something told me I shouldn't leave. The next thunderclap was closer. Louder. Ash bolted to the far end of the paddock, then back again, tossing his head wildly. Lightning flared, brief and blinding, followed by a crack that shook the barn walls. Rain began in sudden, hard drops. Then all at once. A downpour. And Ash lost it. He charged the fence, eyes wide, coat slick with rain, spun on his back legs, kicked at the gate, reared again. Tom returned with the halter, yelling over the wind, "Don't go in there yet." But I was already climbing the fence. I don't know what came over me. Instinct, maybe. Or something deeper. Ash needed someone, and not just anyone. He needed me. The mud sucked at my boots as I ran toward him. He spun away at first, hooves pounding the wet ground, panic turning his movements chaotic. Ash. He stopped. Chest heaving. Eyes wild. But he stopped. I stepped closer, arm raised. It's me. Another flash of lightning, another beat of thunder. He backed away 2 steps, skittering in the slick mud, then froze. We stared at each other. And then he stepped toward me. 1 step. Then another. Then he pressed his head, soaked, heavy, into my chest. And I wrapped my arms around him. My whole body was trembling. Not from fear. From feeling. Because in that moment, something inside me cracked. A wall I'd been holding up for 2 years, a wall I thought I needed, finally buckled. And all the things I'd buried rose like floodwater. I sobbed into his neck, my tears indistinguishable from the rain. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm sorry I left you. He stood perfectly still. Letting me fall apart. Letting me break. Tom climbed the fence and approached carefully, eyes wide with disbelief. Is he? He's fine, I said, voice thick. He just didn't want to be alone. Tom didn't respond. Just nodded, lips pressed in a thin line, eyes scanning both of us like we were something fragile. We walked Ash to the barn together. No halter needed. Once inside, I rubbed him down with a dry towel, slow and gentle. His eyes stayed on me the entire time. And mine on him. I remembered now. I remembered the way Jamie used to laugh when Ash tried to eat his baseball cap. I remembered the first time I rode bareback, how Ash had walked so slowly, so carefully, as if he knew how scared I was. I remembered the day of the accident. And the way Ash had stood next to the trailer, unmoving, soaked in blood and rain, eyes wide with confusion and grief. He had seen it all. Held it all. And somehow, never let it go. Later, after the storm had passed and the sky cracked open to stars, I returned to the barn alone. Ash was lying down in his stall, something horses rarely do unless they feel completely safe. I opened the gate quietly. He looked up. And for the first time I stepped inside without hesitation. I sat beside him. He didn't move. Just exhaled, that same long, low breath, and shifted slightly, resting his massive head in my lap. "I think I get it now," I whispered. "You were never trying to push me. You were just trying to hold me here." He blinked slowly. "I've been running so long. I didn't even know what I was afraid of anymore." Another soft breath. "And all this time, you were just waiting." I stayed with him for over an hour. Not talking. Not crying. Just breathing. Together. Before I left, I kissed the star on his forehead. And he licked my wrist. It was the gentlest, clumsiest, most perfect thing. I laughed, the first real laugh in ages. That night, I wrote again. Not one sentence. A page. 2 pages. And at the bottom, a line I didn't know I needed until it was there. He didn't save me. He reminded me I was worth saving, asterisk. I thought the worst was behind me. After the storm, after the moment in the mud where I'd sobbed into Ash's neck like a broken child, I thought maybe I had crossed some invisible line. That healing would now move in a straight line. Forward. Upward. I was wrong. Healing doesn't move like that. It loops. Spirals. Pauses. And sometimes, it turns back on you when you least expect it. It started small. A hesitation before walking into the barn. A jolt in my chest when I heard hooves behind me too suddenly. A late-night dream of screaming tires and a broken fence line. The past has claws, even when you think you've declawed it. I didn't talk to Tom about it. I didn't write about it. I didn't even tell Ash. But he knew. He always knew. We were in the round pen when it happened. The sky was clear. The air smelled like pine and summer dust. I'd decided to try groundwork again, not to train, just to move together. Ash had been calm. Responsive. I walked forward, he mirrored me. I turned, he turned. I stopped, he stopped. Then a crow flew overhead, loud, sudden, and he startled. Just a flinch. A twitch. But it was enough. My body remembered what my heart didn't want to. And I stepped back. Hard. Too hard. Like I was bracing for impact that never came. Ash saw it. He froze. Lowered his head. Ears forward. Eyes soft. But I was already retreating. Already whispering, no. No, no, no. I dropped the rope and turned away. Walked straight out of the pen, back to the fence line, back to the safety of space. Tom was nearby, raking hay. He looked up. "Everything okay?" I nodded. Too fast. Too fake. Just tired. He watched me closely but said nothing. Bless him for that. I didn't go to the barn the next morning. Or the one after that. I told myself it was fine, that Ash didn't need me every day. That he had Tom. That I had other things to do. But it wasn't fine. I knew it. And so did he. On the third morning, I opened the screen door to find him standing at the fence. Waiting. Watching. Like always. But this time, he didn't stay there. When he saw me, he walked along the fence line. Step by step. Deliberate. Purposeful. He didn't break eye contact once. He reached the gate. Pressed his chest against it. And stood there. Unmoving. I walked toward him slowly. Barefoot. Heart pounding. Stronger than me, I whispered. His ears flicked. I tried to push you away. I've done it 100 times. No response. And you're still here. I looked down at his side, rose and followed breath slow and even. I think you knew I was coming back before I did. The wind stirred. The leaves whispered something I couldn't understand. And for the first time, I stopped resisting the tears. Not the ugly, broken kind. Not grief. Just release. Like something inside me had stopped fighting. Like I was finally letting him hold the weight I couldn't name. We stayed there for a long time. He didn't rush me. Didn't leave. Didn't move. And neither did I. Later, back at the barn, Tom was brushing down one of the geldings when I passed by. He looked up, took one glance at my face, and nodded. Good, he said simply. That's all. Just good. That night, I lit the old oil lamp on my nightstand. Opened the drawer. And pulled out the envelope I hadn't touched in over a year. Jamie's letter. The one he wrote before his last competition. The one they found in his locker after the accident. I'd never opened it. Couldn't. Until now. My hand shook as I unfolded the page. His handwriting filled the paper in strong, looping strokes. Eliza. If you're reading this, it means something happened. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm being dramatic. But if it is something, then I need you to know one thing. Ash isn't just a horse. He's a part of us. I trained him, yeah. But he trained me too. And if I'm not there, I think he'll find you. Let him. He's stronger than me. But never stronger than you. Love you always. Jay. I didn't cry. Not then. Not because it didn't hurt. But because, somehow, it healed. I folded the letter. Set it beside the lamp. Then walked to the window and looked out. Ash was there. In the moonlight. Watching. Waiting. And I whispered, tomorrow, I let you in. Morning light filtered through the curtains like gold dust. The kind of light that didn't ask anything of you, it just arrived, quietly, hopefully. I stood at the window, coffee cooling in my hands, watching Ash in the pasture. He stood alone. Still. Strong. A silent monument in the rising sun. And somehow, I knew, this would be different. Today, I wouldn't stand back. Wouldn't flinch. Wouldn't wait. Today, I would open the door. I dressed slowly, deliberately, old jeans, boots worn soft with memory, and Jamie's flannel shirt, the one I swore I'd never wear again. It still smelled like cedar. Like summer. Like a life that didn't end, just changed. Ash looked up as I approached. Not with surprise, not even with curiosity. Just quiet expectation. Like he'd known all along that this was coming. I opened the gate. He walked to me without a sound. And I held the halter out. He dipped his head into it like it belonged there. No rope tug. No coaxing. Just yes. Tom stood at the edge of the arena as we approached. You sure? He asked, arms folded, leaning on the fence. No, I admitted, a nervous smile twitching at my lips. But I'm here. That's usually enough. I nodded. Led Ash through the gate. Then unclipped the lead and let him go. He didn't bolt. Didn't stray. He just walked to the middle of the ring and turned to face me. Waiting. I climbed the mounting block, paused. Breathed. My fingers trembled as I placed one hand on his back. It had been so long. Too long. He looked over his shoulder, his eye calm, steady. And I whispered, okay. Then swung one leg over. And sat. We stood like that for a while, still as statues, the wind tugging at the edges of my fear, the saddle creaking beneath my weight. Ash didn't move. Not until I did. I shifted slightly, giving the faintest squeeze with my heel. He stepped forward. One step. Then another. And suddenly, we were moving. It wasn't graceful. I wasn't balanced. I wasn't strong. But I wasn't broken anymore. And neither was he. We circled the arena slowly. Ash's ears flicked with every breath I took. Every shift. Every heartbeat. I wasn't just riding him. I was riding with him. Every muscle in sync. Every breath a silent conversation. Every movement an answer to a question I hadn't known how to ask. Halfway through the second lap, I felt it. That thing I'd missed for so long. Not adrenaline. Not pride. Trust. Not just in him. In me. I leaned forward slightly, ran my fingers through his thick mane. "Thank you," I whispered. He flicked an ear, as if to say, "Finally." When we stopped, I slid off gently, legs shaky but grounded. I pressed my forehead to his. "You brought me back," I whispered. "And I almost didn't let you." His breath warmed my cheek. A low nicker rolled from his throat. And I smiled through tears I didn't need to hide anymore. Tom met me at the gate. "Saw the whole thing," he said. "Was it terrible?" "Not even a little." He paused. "You let him in, huh?" I nodded. And for once, the weight in my chest wasn't grief. It was something new. Peace. That evening, I walked to the barn alone. Ash waited at the gate again, like he always did. But this time I didn't clip on the lead. I just opened the stall door. And he followed me inside. Past the tack room. Past the feed bins. Through the wide arena doors. And into the round pen. Where I let him go. Then I sat down. Right there in the dirt. Cross-legged. Quiet. And waited. He circled once. Twice. Then walked over. And laid down beside me. 1,000 pounds of presence curled into the earth like it belonged there. I leaned against him. Felt his ribs move with every breath. And said, "We're okay now, right?" He closed his eyes. We stayed there for a long time. Long enough for stars to rise. Long enough for the silence to feel full, not empty. Long enough for me to understand that healing wasn't something Ash gave me. It was something he reminded me I could claim. The next morning, I printed Jamie's letter. Framed it. Hung it above the barn door. Below it, I added a hand-painted sign. He didn't save me. He stayed until I could save myself. People started asking questions after that. Is that the wild stallion who wouldn't let anyone near him? Wasn't he too dangerous to ride? I never argued. I just smiled. And said, he was never dangerous. Just honest. Just waiting. Just stronger than I was, until I remembered how strong I could be. Now, when the storms come, and they still do, I don't run. I light the old oil lamp. Open the barn doors. And leave the stall open. For Ash. And for whatever part of me still needs to be reminded that letting go of pain doesn't mean forgetting the love. It means honoring it. Living through it. Riding forward.